Hey traders, it's Jeffrey back with the Algo IQ program. What a great trade. Pre-market, one and done, over 500 ticks, clear as can be signals. First, before we start the replay, let me just review. The Algo IQ program is made up of a set of indicators that have special hybrid logic and double sets of bars and these double sets of bands. Okay, you can see the inner bands here that are red and green, and the outer bands, the wider bands. We can look and see how the market is moving. So in this case, clearly the NQ is in an uptrend, and I'm looking for these orange square signals when price moves outside of the bigger bands, the super bands, and comes to the outside of the inner bands as well. So in this case, if I was up at around 4 a.m., which I wasn't, I could have taken and ridden this straight down to the other end. But getting up between 5 and 6 a.m. is pretty normal for me. So let's go ahead and start the replay. As you can see, as time moves on, I'm waiting for the first set of signals. Usually I get a triangle, then a dot. To me, that's ready, set, and then when I get the orange square, I go. I go ahead and enter at market. I'll put a quantity of 3 on the chart right off the bat. Before I move forward, let me tell you what I do. You're welcome to trade this any way that works for you, but I'm pretty conservative. When I see the trade is moving in the direction of the trend, for example, clearly the trend is up. When I get a pullback to the outside band, I'm looking for longs. I'm going to try to ride this all the way back up to the other side of the band. If it was a counter trend trade, I would be very aggressive to get out at the midline. So that's a different way of trading. So let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to pull my stop below the lower bands, both of them. I'm going to put my first target, in this case, above the midline a little bit. I want to be above the inner band, and my second target way above the outer band. Now, as we get closer to price, once we get our first target, I'm going to move my stop and start to trail below the smaller bands. So that is first target hit. Let's move my stop right up to there. We're going to keep it below these lower bands, and I will trail it. For my second target, I'm going to look to stay above the inner band. So if this starts climbing up, I'm going to keep pulling my target up to stay outside of that band, because we could get a pop and hit it right outside that band, and that's usually an indication before we get a turnaround. Let's go ahead and move it forward a drop. And you can see I'm giving myself plenty of room for this to move up. That's it, keeping my target way outside of the bands. But now as we start approaching the outer band, I'm getting ready to move. Let's move my stop up so that I am well below the inner band. We're coming up to 8:30. Now sometimes I'll ride this through the open, but in this case this was such a dramatic move down and back up, chances are we're going to continue to see some movement before the New York Open. I don't like to be, if I can avoid it, in the market when the market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Now when I start to see some signals on the other side, I'm kind of wary, and I've got my finger on the button to see. If I get my signals to point down and all 3 appear, the triangle, the dot, and then the line, then I might just close the entire trade. We're clearly in the money. We've got a couple of $100 in the bank already, and a couple hundred, or rather 110 or 20 more if we were to close it now. So far this is a winning trade, but let's see if we can't keep and move it up here. Going to keep moving my stop up so that I'm underneath that inner band. And to be ultra conservative, if I think that there's a chance that we may reverse at any moment, I'll go right below this swing low right over here. But it's if you don't mind leaving a little bit on the table or taking a little bit of heat, being below the bands is going to be your safest stop. And as you can see, prices move down. We do not have all signals yet. Now you could exit right here. I'm going to keep a tight stop. And now that this turned up and the signal disappeared, I'm good to stay in the trade. And now we've got a long signal appearing right over here. That's confirmation. Stay in that trade. Keep moving the stop up. Maybe even tighten it up a little bit underneath this bars. You could even go 1 or 2 bars back. Now we're approaching the outer band here. I'm going to tighten up my target to be a little bit closer to that band. And my stop to be able to capture as much as we can. Because there's a high likelihood that we're going to rotate again. Possibly just down to the midpoint, and we may rotate from the outer band to the midline, back and forth through the open. But let's see how much we can capture. We're getting ready to hit the market open, and boom, market opens. We're out. Huge trade. And as I said, we got in at 25,626 and out at 25,757. Over 500 ticks for another great Algo IQ trade. If you're looking for more information, email info@algo-iq.com. The website is www.algo-iq.com. And you can also look at my YouTube channel, which is also algo-iq.com. Okay, guys, we will see you in the next one.